God almighty, I am so tired of the bullshit. I just moved here to Edgewood a year ago. One of the primary reasons I moved to Edgewood was to get out from under the political bullshit that exists in so much of the rest of the country. And I get here and I find it's just another political cesspool like every other part of the country, except this one appears to be some historical private feud between two families in this town who need to grow the hell up and pull the dildo out of their asses. I mean, seriously, grow up. Put some big kid pants on. And let's get real here. Right? There's now a feud going on with this changeover from the corrupt mayor form of government, and it's always corrupt. Any point source political system always corrupts. No exceptions. It's a historical fact. You put all the power into the hands of essentially one person, and ultimately a corrupt individual will seek out that position. Power doesn't corrupt. Corruption seeks power. Okay? That's why the federal government keeps trying to centralize power as much as it can. Because the more power it can centralize into the federal government, the more power it has, and the more it can exert its corruption on the entire nation. The entire founding principle of this country, if you're an American, and you are genuinely an American, you should understand this. The founding principle of this country is distribution of power. You want to break the distribution of power to the lowest number possible. You want to bring it down to you want to make your power base as spread out as possible. The entire purpose of that is to have a check and balance on corruption. Because ultimately, the reason any form of government fails is because people like me and people like you stop doing their goddamn jobs and don't get involved in politics. At least enough to avoid corruption. It's apathy. Not greed, not money, not power. It's apathy. As Benjamin Franklin said, when the old lady confronted him after they came out and ratified the Constitution, she said, "Mr. Franklin, what have you given us?" I'm paraphrasing. Mr. Franklin said, "Madam, we have given you a republic for so long as you can keep it. I don't want democracy. I don't want socialism. I don't want communism. I don't want capitalism. I want my constitutional republic. And my constitutional republic is a mix of all of those. And the only way you can maintain that republic with a stupid population as uneducated and as moronic as the vast majority of us are, because let's get real, most of us are morons when it comes to actually running things like this. I mean, look at the shithole this country is becoming. Okay? Look at this place. This place is a shithole. Okay? Not Edgewood. The United States of America. We're the laughing stock of the entire goddamn world because we're a bunch of little kings arguing over who's going to hold the toy wand and crown for today to exert their corruption on everybody else around them and fuck up everybody's lives. You people need to grow the fuck up. Because when you're a town this small, you have power you can exert. If you know how to apply it. You people clearly don't. Well, some of you do. Some of you clearly know how to apply it. I mean, look at the cesspool of corruption here in this little tiny 4,000 person town in Edgewood, New Mexico. I mean, you guys don't know corruption. You guys don't know political bullshit. I came from Levittown, Pennsylvania, with my 2,400 square foot house on 0.12 acres of land. It's a little tiny cookie cutter house, it's nestled up with a bunch of other houses, and I was paying $8,500 a year in property taxes. Over $6,000 of that was school taxes. Going to one of the worst goddamn schools in the entire area. I mean, literally 10 miles over was Council Rock and Pennsbury, some of the best schools in the entire country, and their taxes were a third of what ours were. Talk about corruption. Yeah, that's why I moved out of Pennsylvania, to get away from that kind of bullshit. My entire cost of living here per year is less than what I paid in property taxes back in Pennsylvania. I bought a 40-foot school bus, packed all of our shit in it, moved our asses out here, bought a house as is, where is, sight unseen. Hell, my real estate agent, the bank was so incompetent, my real estate agent had to climb through one of the windows in the back of the house just to get me some pictures of the inside of the house I was buying from 2,000 miles away. And then I had to live in the Motel 6 in Moriarty for 2 weeks. The bank couldn't get off their asses and write a single document that says, we're not responsible for the water. Duh. It's already as is, where is. I mean, just... You mark my words. The day is coming when we're going to legalize political cannibalism, and then we're going to eat you. The day that happens, I'll be ready with my knives and forks and my grills out back, and we're going to have a buffet, okay? I'm just waiting for Congress to do some boneheaded move and legalize political cannibalism. You watch it, okay? Yeah, we're going to eat the politicians. You think I'm joking? This is insane. Now, the current form of government we have, the mayor is basically all-powerful. He's a king. And he can, as long as he has a couple of council members under his foot, or under his thumb, he can do whatever the hell he wants, and you have no say. You have no power. When somebody is trying to convince you to give up power, the first thing you need to do is, why would somebody do that? Why would an individual want you to vote in such a way that is detrimental to your own being? Well, that's because they have something to gain. You think these signs around town saying vote against, these big, beautiful red and blue signs sitting on Bassett property, you think that came from a private individual? What, are you actually delusional enough to not think they use city funds to pay for that? Get real. You'll never prove it. You'll never find the data because he's the king. It just doesn't exist, okay? But yeah, rest assured, those were paid for by the mayor, the city of Edgewood, and those are sitting on the mayor's land. Yeah, you think maybe the mayor has something to lose? If the mayor actually gave a shit about you, and gave a shit about Edgewood, and gave a shit about the Constitution, and gave a shit about your well-being, he would be encouraging you to vote for what was best for the town of Edgewood, not what was best for him. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I work a full-time job. I work 60, 70 hours a week, and I'm taking on more work because the coronavirus has destroyed my income from my self-employed business. So I'm working for the census now to make some more money because I don't make enough on unemployment, that's for sure. At least I got that, okay? Now, you consider this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's some big giant gotcha that 50% of the entire country who uses this form of government specifically to reduce corruption, it's explicitly designed for it. This form of government was explicitly designed to deal with small town corruption. That's what it was made for. Literally, someone said, okay, we got a problem. We have a whole bunch of little kings and queens running little fiefdoms and destroying small town America. How do we fix it? So they came up with a form of government that actually gives you more power. Now, remember what I said. How do you solve, well, you don't solve corruption. How do you slow down corruption? You distribute power. All right, we are a majority rules kind of nation. This is why they want to get rid of the Electoral College. This is why they want to impose terms, because that makes it a majority rules type of government. And majority rules is a rule by tyranny. It's the tyranny of the majority. The founders went to great lengths to not mention democracy anywhere in the founding documents. That was kind of the point, because democracy is evil. Not a little bit of democracy. A little bit of democracy is good. We get the power to vote. That's democratic. But a pure democracy? Oh, you don't want to live under that. that just means the 6 people who can generate the majority of votes. If you have 1,000 people and they're split 250 on 4 different issues, you only need 251 people to override the will of 749 people. That's what democracy gives you. Okay? Look at the population of New Mexico. We're the 5th largest state in the entire country. There's 2 million people here. Do you know what New Mexico is? It's nothing. We're irrelevant. You're irrelevant. Without an electoral college, you have 0 voice. None. Los Angeles has more. The city of Los Angeles has more people than the entire state of New Mexico. New York City has 4 times the people of the entire state of New Mexico. Okay? You really want the guys in Massachusetts and Boston deciding how things should work here in New Mexico? Well, the same thing applies on a smaller scale. It just has smaller reach. Right now, all he has to do is control the votes for a majority of commissioners. So if he can control the vote for 3 commissioners, then he owns the government. Because his vote plus the 3 commissioners overrides everybody in Edgewood. Everybody. You have no say. You have no vote. Bye. Stop. Don't even bother. You know, screw you. I want sewer lines running through the city. I'm getting them. I want to take away private property from somebody. I don't know anything about Epcor. I don't need to know anything about Epcor. Epcor is a private company. This would be, I'm going to give you a direct analogy to what the mayor is trying to do with Epcor. Okay? Because keep in mind, he's not going to do anything with Epcor. He's just going to keep it a water company. It's not like he's buying your house to make an on-ramp to Interstate 40 that the town needs. Okay? You know, those 4 little ramps that go onto Edgewood, if assuming that land was taken by somebody, they either had to buy it from them or use eminent domain to take that land. And that's a valid government need. The town needs access to Interstate 40. Without it, we don't get the kind of traffic you get off Interstate 40. That's something that can make or break a small town like this. So something like that would be considered critical. You know, you want a hospital here. You want a police station or a fire station here. You want an animal rescue center. You either have to buy the land or use eminent domain to secure it. Those are valid government purposes. And when I say valid government, I mean for the people. Because what's in the government's interest is supposed to be what's in the people's interest, not just what's in the government's interest. The government is supposed to be a reflection of the people, not the ruler of the people. The government is supposed to do as they're told. My cat's playing in the Amazon box. Okay? So, in your current form of government, all he has to do is exert control over the vote of 3 council members. And that's it. You have no control over your government anymore. He even took away your right to vote. Extended their term 2 years. Now they say, well, that's the way the state law passed in Santa Fe. That's not the way they intended it. They intended to unify voting days. You guys had voting days scattered all over the year. Right? Like back in Pennsylvania, all the voting days were on fixed days every year. You know, whatever it is, there's election day every year, and I think there's 2 of them, one in the first half, one in the second half. But those election days are fixed. So whatever election you're holding synchronizes with those election days. That makes scheduling a lot easier. You don't have to have 7 election days for 7 different things throughout the state. Okay? The intent was for you to simply nudge your election day in whatever direction was necessary to get it closest to the entire system. Well, ours was almost there. We were 60 days away. The spirit, the intent of that law was that they were to reduce their term by 60 days to bring it in line or leave it the same. But because somebody in Santa Fe screwed up and didn't add that spirit, that obvious intended provision that you can't just add 50% to your fucking election term, they chose to take advantage of that and added 2 years to their term, which might give them enough time to push all this corruption they're trying to push. And so you lose your right to vote. And you don't have a right to vote for all 5 commissioners because he's controlling the vote for 3 of them. You think you have a right to vote. You don't. If you vote Democrat, you have no right to vote. If you vote Republican, you have no right to vote. You have the illusion of a right to vote. Because you vote Democrat, you vote Republican, you're essentially voting for the same thing. They have different philosophies, they have different procedures, they have different ways of going about what they do. But in the end, the rusty mace up your ass is their objective. And in the end, you're going to get a rusty mace up your ass. You want to know when this nation is waking up? When the people realize that the only valid vote left is none of the above. You write someone in or vote for someone else. You tell the Republicans and the Democrats to go fuck themselves and say, we're taking back this fucking country. All the propaganda and the hyperpolarization and the destruction of our education system is designed to keep you stupid. So you keep pulling that DNR lever. Rah, rah, rah. The Republicans screwed us. Let's vote for Democrats. And then in 4 years, rah, rah, rah. The Democrats screwed us. Let's vote for Republicans. That's called a duopoly. You just keep bouncing back and forth between 2 sets of morons. And those morons are laughing all the way to the bank as they fuck you over. I mean, the CARES Act, so far in this pandemic, we've spent $6.5 trillion. The original CARES Act was about $3 trillion. If Chili Hill's restaurant made $1 million every single day, they made $1 million, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Okay? Oh, no, even better. What's the budget of Edgewood, about $3 million a year. I can't use that. It's too small. I'm not doing that math. Okay, back to Chili Hills. They make $1 million every single day. $365 million a year. How many years would it take Chili Hills to pay off the CARES Act, the CARES Act 3, the $3 trillion? How long would it take? 2,000 years. If they paid $1 million per day on the CARES Act, it would take a little over 2,000 years. 6,000, I'm sorry, 20,000 years. It's 6,700 years to pay off $1 trillion, $1 trillion at $1 million a day. The CARES Act was $3 trillion. It would take Chili Hills at $1 million a day. What would that be? 1,800, 2,100? So yeah, 20,100 years. 20,000 years. Half of all of recorded history to pay off just the CARES Act. And we've already doubled it, and we're about to pass another one measured in trillions. Okay? This is the kind of corruption you get when you brainwash and propagandize the entire population like this. Right? It's bullshit. Now, the next thing they complain about, Truth of Edgewood. It's a propaganda stream. I'm looking at Truth of Edgewood right now. I see no data. I see no facts whatsoever. It's a propaganda stream. I mean, it's literal bullshit. I mean, did you read the flyer they mailed out? It's a mudslinging flyer. It contains no actual data. I was ready to listen. I don't know anything about your internal politics. I know a little bit more now. And I want to bury it. I want to crush it. I want everybody to get their horses, their wagons, their tractors, and their shotguns out. And I want you guys to all come together and bury this bullshit. Okay? I mean, it's distribution of power. The other complaint that we get is that you lose the right to vote for all 5 councilors. The area has to be divided into 5 equal districts by population, not by area. And you vote for a councilor for each district. Remember what I said about the population in New Mexico and how you guys are irrelevant? You're meaningless. You're nothing. You don't have a voice. If we don't have an electoral college. Again, 2 million people in New Mexico, 2 million people in LA, 8 million people in New York City. You have no vote. Right now, you have no vote. You think you have a vote. You don't. It's an illusion. By districting the city into 5 districts, they are restoring your right to vote. Had a cough since I got here. I guess it's the dryness and the high altitude. Okay? They're restoring your right to vote. They're literally giving back your right to vote by distributing the power to vote by population. So now, this district gets to vote for their councilor. And it's a lot easier for that 1/5 of the city. Well, we're 4,000 people. What is that? 800? Yeah, 800. Okay? So now, 800 people get to vote for one person to represent them. It now becomes a lot harder for this individual over here outside of your district, the mayor, to exert influence over who these 800 people vote for. Because it's a lot easier for 800 people to organize and decide what they want than it is for 4,000 people to organize and decide what they want. It's also easier to see influence and corruption taking hold. That's the point. Okay, when you subdivide power, you go, oh, wait a minute, something's not right over there. And those other 4 can go, whoa, yeah, what are you guys doing over there? You shouldn't be doing that. That's bad news. Okay? It's easier to see. But when you have a big conglomeration, it's easier to hide. The whole purpose of districting the town of Edgewood into 5 districts and having 5 councilors that each district would vote for their councilor, that's like New Mexico getting 2 senators. And Arizona getting 2 senators. And Texas getting 2 senators. It's to reduce corruption. It's to distribute power more locally. That's the point. You think of Edgewood as a country and the 5 districts as states in that country. Well, instead of one person controlling the vote of 3/5 of the nation, now you have 1/5 of the nation each voting for their own part, and it's harder for one single individual to infiltrate and influence each of those districts because these districts are smaller, more granular, they'll have more say. So instead of 4,000 people trying to come together and figure out what they want in a town hall, you only need 800. And you're only going to get about 10% of those. Now you're talking 80 people. Those 80 people are going to be able to see an outsider trying to influence their 800. It's to reduce corruption. It's to restore your power to vote. That's the point of the districting. Remember, this form of government, the explicit designed intent of this form of government was to crush corruption, make it easier to see, and make it harder to get a foothold. Because once it gets a foothold, it's all gone. They see an average of 10 to 30% reduction in corruption in cities that use this form of government. It works. That's why they have it. That's the whole point. All right? Santa Fe can't be going to every little tiny fiefdom to try to figure out how to micromanage those governments. It doesn't work. And the people who are corrupt know it. So the whole point is to give us more power, more say. We're going to get the right now we have no voice. If the mayor says, I'm going to do this, we have to sit there with our thumbs up our ass and we can't do anything except wait until the next election and hope we can override his corrupt influence on that said election and the select few people who are influencing that election, this internal historical family feud I hear being talked about around Edgewood. Fuck you guys. Fuck that shit. This is the real world. This isn't supposed to be your little personal fiefdoms. You're destroying people's lives here. I'm worried about my goddamn taxes. $506 to $530. It's going up 4.5% per year. In what? In 30 years, in 20 years, my taxes, in 21 years, my taxes will be 400% what they are today. I didn't come all the way to fuck out here driving 2,100 miles in a goddamn 40-foot school bus in my backyard just to go from one fiefdom to another fiefdom. Screw that shit. I came out here to live a life in peace. I came out here to, have a small town feel and a small town government that just does its job and goes to hell home to have dinner with their family instead of trying to build their little kingdom. Let me give you an example for Epcor. Why I support Epcor's letter they sent out where they suggested if you don't like that action you do. They didn't tell you how to vote. They told you how they're going to vote. They told you what you would need to do in order to stop a takeover of Epcor. So let me give you a direct analogy for Epcor for you. Okay? I drive over to your house. I decide I like your house. Mr. So-and-so of Edgewood, I would like to buy your house. You like your house. You don't want to give up your house. You say, no thanks, Chris. I don't want to sell my house to you. Now, keep in mind, I don't want to make an off-ramp. I don't want to install a hospital. There's no government, city, or community function that I need your house for. I just like your house. And I'm going to keep using your house as a house. I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to keep it a house. I'm not going to upgrade it. I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to fix anything. I just want your house. So I say, I'm sorry, that wasn't a request. I'm taking your house. You can either accept my offer and sell me the house, or because I am, King Bassett of Edgewood, I'm going to, declare your house a condemnation and use my corrupt powers of government to force you to sell me your house. You're, of course, going to resist, and that's going to cost a fortune. We have actual examples, many, many times, where this happens, and it costs a fortune. You're thinking, well, I don't like the water in Epcor. Wait a minute. You think Edgewood's going to fix it? No, they're not going to fix it. They just want to own the water because it's a source of taxes. You see, as a utility company, Epcor can't just decree your bill is whatever you want. Trust me, I don't like that $21 service fee they charge. That basically destroys any attempt at conservation, because the less water you use, the more you pay. Because my water bill is down to $8, yet my bill is $30 every month because of those goddamn fees, okay? Now, Epcor sent out a letter to everybody in Edgewood. This is before I got here. It said, hey, we could make the water soft. It's going to cost this much. It's going to add this much to your bill, from what I understand, okay? And the people of Edgewood, as an aggregate, voted no. So you think the town of Edgewood's going to do differently? No. Now, if Epcor wants to raise your prices, they can't. They can't just go, your bill's $40 this month. That's not how it works. They are a monopoly. The water company's a monopoly. How many water pipes do you have running to your house? It's a necessary monopoly. There's no practical way to run multiple water systems in the town, which is why Edgewood's not trying to make its own water company. They just want to take it from Epcor. Okay? So they control their rates. If Epcor wants to increase the price of your service, they have to go to the Utility Commission of New Mexico and plead their case. They have to prove to the Utility Commission that this necessary update to the water system or repair to the water system is actually necessary and what it actually costs, and they have to prove their case to the Utility Commission, and the Utility Commission gives them a green light, red light. Yeah, nope, you can't do that. You got to bid for 4 times what it should cost to do that. No, you're not screwing your people like that. Or, yeah, okay, your water main's failing, you need 10 grand, and you got to add, a $1 fee to the bill to pay for that. Fine, you can add that. That's how that works. Once Edgewood owns the water company, none of that applies. Because Edgewood is government and not a private company, those rules don't apply. So Edgewood can charge you anything they fucking please for the water, and you have a choice: haul water, dig your own well, or go fuck yourself. And guess what? Your hauled water is going to be hard, and your well water is going to be hard, assuming you can afford the $12,000 to $25,000 it costs to dig a well here. Yeah, I looked into that. That's why I had to buy a house that had city water. We call it city water back east, but here it's private water. But the point is, there's a pipe coming to my house. I don't have to dig a well. Okay, that's important. Unless you got money. I don't. So all those restrictions go away. Are you telling me you want that? Are you telling me that you're okay with me coming to your house and saying, sell me your house or I'm taking it from you? It isn't a choice. Give me your house. You're okay with that. Because that's what you're saying if you're okay with the town of Edgewood, Bassett, buying Epcor by force. I don't care that they're in Canada. That doesn't mean shit to me. All I care about, they're a private entity with private property. And the government should not have an unrestricted power to take private property from private individuals without cause. They have no cause. They just want it. Because they can double your water bill and dramatically increase the profit in the coffers of their budget without any costs. Because they're not going to change anything. They're just going to double your bill. Oh, plus pay for the lawsuit. Because what? You think, are you going to give up your house when I say sell it to me or else? No! You're going to fight because it's your goddamn house. Okay? Hello? They say, CORE lied to you. I don't even know who CORE is. Apparently, CORE is this other group that is fighting against truth about Edgewood. And apparently, these two groups are like certain lineage of families that live here. I'm still not finding out a whole lot of information. All I know is, fuck you guys, and fuck you guys, and stop fucking us over with your fucking little war. Grow the fuck up. In this particular case, I happen to agree with CORE. A commission manager government is going to fix a lot of bullshit. I stand corrected. It's not going to fix anything. The commissioner manager government fixes nothing. What it does do is it gives you and me the power to fix it. I don't care if that power starts right now, next year, or the year after. The point is, the power comes with the change, and the power gives us, you and me, the power to actually fix this. So if the mayor says, we're going to take Epcor by force, the people would have the power at some point in the future to say, excuse me, what the fuck are you doing? Get out of here with your fiefdom bullshit. And you can force a vote. Now, if the majority of Edgewood decides, yeah, we're going to do that, okay, then that's what we do. All right? But right now, you don't have a say. You don't have a vote. He just does whatever the hell he wants because he controls the council. You think, well, we get to vote for the council. No, you don't. He voted for the council. He's got 3 little piggies in his pocket. You don't get a say. That's the point of the districting, to stop that kind of corruption. That's why you separate into 5 districts, and each district votes for a commissioner, and those 5 commissioners become the government. The manager is the one who goes, he's your initial stopgap. The manager is a professional from outside the system who has nothing to gain. He gets a fixed salary. So you can think of him, in theory, that's the idea, you can think of him as a truth machine. All right? He is not a family member. He is a hired professional. He doesn't give a fuck about Bassett's history. He doesn't give a fuck about whatever the other family on the other side's history. He doesn't give a fuck about property separation and all that bullshit. All he cares about is, here are my orders. Here are the rules for which I'm supposed to follow to do my job. And guess what? If he doesn't do his job, you fucking fire him and you get a new one. That's the point. You don't have to wait for an election. You fire the fucker and you get a new professional. That's the point. Okay? He gets some sway in this council power. You know, he goes, yeah, guys, you really shouldn't be doing that. That's outside the rules here. Okay? He's kind of the captain of the ship. And then you have the shareholders of the ship who can decide the overriding functions of the ship. That's us. That's the people. Right now, we have a hostile takeover of our corporate board. That's literally what happened. We have a hostile takeover of our corporate board, and the power of our shares in ownership of this company is being ignored because he controls the board. Okay? It's literally what it is. You got to think of it like a business. And I hate corporations, but it's applicable. It works. It's how it functions. And then something we don't have now. You have a nuclear option. You have one last option, and that's the power of initiative and referendum and all that crap. So if the government is doing something you don't like, and you can get enough of the other people in your district and your city to agree with you, then you can go to the government and say, hey, what the fuck are you doing? We don't agree with this. Too bad, we're doing it. Fine, put it to a vote. He doesn't have a choice. He now has to put it to a vote. That's the point! Or if the government's not doing something you want it to do, putting in trails, paving roads, you can force them to. You might not be able to force them to do it, because if what you want them to do isn't practical, then it isn't practical. You can't say, I want, concrete roads throughout the entire city by next year. Yeah, I looked into the cost of paving Pinon Road, my road here. $150,000 is the rough estimate I got. I can't afford that. I was thinking, what could it be? Maybe it's like $15,000, and maybe all of my neighbors, if we each put up $2,000, we can have a paved road. Yeah, more like $20,000 each. Okay, so we can't do that. It has to be a city thing. Okay, but we can compel him to do something reasonable. We can say, hey, we want you to direct resources toward roads and trails and not sewer and Epcor. And he would have no choice but to do as he is told as an employee of the people of Edgewood as commission manager, and he would have no choice. And because each of your districts votes in a commissioner, and each of your districts knows that commissioner because you chose them and you're only 800 people, so you can actually make a relevant, logical, reasoned choice over who you want to be commissioner, you can actually have a representative, which you don't have now. I mean... And truth of Edgewood's complaint is, well, it might not start until 2021. Okay, so let's not bother trying to end police brutality because we can't end it instantly. Give up, go home, let the police keep killing people. Because we can't stop it instantly. That makes it invalid. I mean, this is the kind of shit that's stranger than fiction. I read this and I'm I'm trying to be nice because I don't want to insult people. These people are my neighbors, even as psychotic as they are or brainwashed as they are. These are my neighbors, and I would like to, live with these neighbors for the next 30 years of my expected lifespan. Okay? But I'm seeing some of these people make points, and I'm like, 2 plus 2 is 4, not 50, right? It's like, where the fuck did you get that? It's like, blah, 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 and then 50. It's like, squirrel! Where did that come from? How did you get from this to that? And yet people are putting forth these arguments as if they actually make sense. I understand people being confused about voting for one commissioner versus all 5. Well, that's because you don't know better. I can totally see people not understanding how that works. But to say that stopping corruption is pointless because we can't stop it instantly. Are you kidding me? I mean, I know it's meth out here instead of heroin like back east, but have you fried too many brain cells to understand that does not make any sense? That's like saying, hey, you cut your leg off. It's going to take me 10 minutes to fix it. Oh, fuck it. You can't fix it in 10 seconds. Just let it bleed out. That's literally what people are saying on Facebook and next door. That's what people are saying. I cut my leg off. I'm going to die, but you can't fix it in 10 seconds? Fuck you. Just leave it be. Oh, my God. I can't believe I have to say this to grown adults. I'm trying so hard not to be insulting, but I want to just find these people and just start bitch slapping them with a wet trout, saying, what the fuck are you doing? The only thing I can think of is that they have something to gain. Is that the people supporting vote against this change, the people putting forth these stupid things, the only thing I can gather is that they have something to gain. That they have a vested interest in the current system. That they're part of the corruption. Because I just can't imagine people being that stupid. I mean, because it looks like cognitive dissonance. It's like they're saying 2 plus 2 is 50. And then they're justifying it. It's like, how does that work? It's cognitive dissonance. They have something to gain, so they somehow have to justify it. I don't know enough about the family and lineage and internal bickering and politics of this town to know who's who and what's what. But I can certainly see a cesspool of bullshit when I look at it. I might not know who all the turds are, but I can certainly see that there's turds. Okay? You don't have to have lived here for 30 years to look at it and go, that's fucked up. I mean, personally attack me when he watches this video? I don't know. I mean, do I have to worry about somebody slashing my tires and shoot them with my shotgun when I catch them? I mean, do I have to worry about that here? I hope not, because I'll shoot them. I catch you on my property and you don't do as I tell you to do, well, you're going to find out my roommate, Mr. 12 Gauge, and he's going to tell you what to do. But is that something I have to worry about out here? I don't know. How bad is this internal family lineage, last name, surname bullshit going? I don't know. All I know is this is bullshit. There is no downside to the commission manager government that I can see. Please, I love comments. I love replying to comments. Okay, it's what I do for a living. I'm a content creator. So if you have information, I don't, and you have sources for that information, not just, I say so, I say 2 plus 2 is 50. Because if 2 plus 2 doesn't come out to 4, I'm going to look at you and go, no. Okay? I don't see any downsides to the commissioner manager government. I don't see any. I only see upsides. The districts dilute power, which makes it easier for the citizens to exert power. The more you distribute the power, the more power like people like you and me have. Because my voice is largely irrelevant in a town hall of 4,000 people. But my voice isn't as irrelevant in a town hall of 800 people. And it's also easier for the 800 people to self-regulate. They can see when there's an influencer from outside trying to sway things and has nefarious purposes, which is much harder to see when you use the whole town. The whole purpose of the districting is to reduce corruption and increase your power. That's the point. The whole point of the initiative, referendum, and all that bullshit is to increase your power. The whole point of having the commission manager is to increase your power. That's the purpose. I mean, yes, it means you need to get up off your fat, lazy asses, my fat ass too, and do our jobs as citizens, and to actually have a say. That's required. As Benjamin Franklin said, again, Madam, I have given you a republic for so long as you can keep it. Because all governments devolve to corruption unless the people maintain it. The more you distribute the power, the easier it is for the people to maintain it. I mean, try to influence the vote of 5 commissioners. Good luck. He has more money and more power than you ever will. Now try to influence the vote of the commissioner who lives 2 streets over from you, and it's just your neighborhood. Well, now you actually have a say. Now your voice can actually be heard over the crowd, because the crowd's smaller. That's the point. All right, I mean, it's just... Let me see if I can find anything else on this propaganda site. History, town of Edgewood. Nothing here. It just talks about how the town of Edgewood formed 20 years ago. There's literally nothing here of any relevance whatsoever to the issue of the mayor versus commissioner-manager form of government. So you can completely ignore that link. So next is the link for special election. He talks about how it only took 77 signatures. Well, that's kind of the point. It's hard to get a lot of people to vote. Your average voter turnout, even for a national election, like for Obama or Trump, was only like 30%. And that was impressive. Right? Getting people to actually come out and vote is pretty hard because they're disenfranchised by the corrupt system that exists here. So it says only 15% of those who voted in the first election. So let me give you a little bit of math on that to show you where this problem stems from. So 100 divided by 15 is 6.666 times 77. So we have 4,000 people in this city, and only 513 of you lazy shits actually got out to vote. Remember what I said? We have given you a republic for so long as you keep it. You clearly don't want to keep it, because only 513 of you dumbasses actually come out to vote. Go vote! Even if you're going to vote for the moron Trump or the moron Biden, go vote. You got no right to complain. None of you has any right to complain if you won't get up off your asses and go vote. Okay? Then it talks about timelines. Says we want to do it in November. No, do it now, because you want to stem the limitation of that corruption. Okay? That's why they want to push it off as far as they can, so they could do more and more before it happens. Okay? The cost to the town of Edgewood. Who gives a shit? Town of Edgewood has a $3 million budget. Their revenue is $3 million a year. So what if they spend $30,000 or $40,000 or even $60,000 or $70,000 on a commission manager? What is that for the town budget? So 3 million divided by 100, so 1% is 30,000. So we're talking about 1 to 2% of the budget. They talk about, oh, it's going to cost money. Oh, they don't mention the fact that it's 1 to 2% of the budget. Nah, don't we pay the mayor more than that? I would say it's 1 to 2%. If 1 to 2% can save you even 3 or 4% in corruption, hello, the average is over 10%. Nationwide, the average is over 10%. So spending 1 or 2% to save upwards of 10%. This is math, guys. This is not politics. This is not complicated. This is math. They're bringing up this irrelevant bullshit point because they don't want to change. They have power. They have a vested interest in this corruption. They don't want to give up their power. The people in government don't typically want a commission manager form of government because it removes the power. It actually makes the government what it's supposed to be for the people. They don't like that. The citizens would no longer vote directly for the person who runs the meetings and represents Edgewood on formal occasions. That's because we would hire them, which is even better. Or if they're talking about the mayor, he would be a figurehead. He would be the image of Edgewood, doing as he's told. That's kind of the point. The commission manager form gives too much power to one person, the city manager. He has no power. None. He's hired, not elected. We hire him with a mandate to do as he's told, or we fire his ass. We're giving him no power. We're ordering him to regulate your power. The government, not us. And then we have the ability to override him. That's the point of the initiative. And the referendum and all that crap. Okay? That's the point. A city manager may leave a city when offer higher salaries. No shit. That's what happens when you hire somebody. They could go somewhere else for better pay. So what? You hire another one. The point is, he gets no power. His job, his duty, what he's hired for, his explicit instructions are to do as the Constitution of the town says to do, and to do as the people of the town say to do. So it doesn't really matter if you hire a new one in 2 or 3 years because he moved on to other work. Same thing happens with your fucking mayor. If your fucking mayor decides he can do better off getting hired for mayor out in Santa Fe, well then you lose him and you gotta hire a new one. They're saying this like it means anything. What? Special elections cost taxpayers money. No shit. It's an event you have to organize because of your corrupt ass doing shit you're not supposed to do. Okay? Again, so what? Alright? The whole point of the commission manager form of government is that you'll have less corruption. And once that form of government realizes they can't just do anything they want, they'll stop doing it. And then you'll stop having special elections. You know, it's like eating politicians. You don't have to eat them all. You only got to eat 4 or 5 prominent ones. And then the rest will start stepping in line because they don't want to be on the next buffet entree. Well, the same thing happens here. Of course, the existing commissioners will be there, and the corruption might still be there, and they're going to try to do their bullshit, and we'll call them out, and we'll have a special election to fix it. And after doing that a few times, they'll realize, okay, well, this doesn't work anymore. I'm either going to stop doing this bullshit because it doesn't work, or I'm going to move on to a job somewhere else, and we'll get better commissioners. Okay? Either which way, once they realize it's not working, once you eat 4 or 5 of them, they stop doing it. And then you stop having special elections, because the government functions the way it's supposed to work. It does its job, instead of building its own personal wealth and fiefdoms. That's the point. So again, nothing here. They're literally trying to take what's good about the commission manager form of government and say it's bad. I mean, the person selected as town manager may not be qualified. Well, then you fucked up hiring them. You fire them and you get someone else. That's like saying, well, the cook I hired to cook at Chili Hills isn't qualified. Well, then why the fuck did you hire him? Yeah, currently, if you get a mayor who is not qualified, you're stuck with him for 6 years. Or 4 years after this bullshit's over. Okay? With the commission manager, boom! Vote! You're inept, dude. You're incompetent. You're gone. And you hire a new one. Problem fixed. This is a good thing, not a bad thing. But Truth of Edgewood puts it forth as a bad thing. That's like hiring a taxi driver who keeps crashing the car, but you're stuck with him for 4 years and you have to let him keep crashing for the next 4 years because you elected him. I mean, this is the stranger than fiction I'm talking about. This is real. If you go to truthaboutedgewood.blogspot.com and click on special election and read this, it's you're gonna think it's some kind of meme joke from some deep part of Reddit or something like that before you realize they're serious. They actually mean this bullshit they're spewing all over this page. Like, they're serious. That's how high the cognitive dissonance is going here. Yes, you could still have divided votes with a commission manager form of government. But guess what? The people become the tiebreaker vote. If we don't like the way it goes, we can compel you to allow the people to have a say. Something we can't do now. You see, mayors love divided votes because they usually become the tiebreaker. So they get their way. I swear to God, the people supporting Truth About Edgewood, I assume the mayor and his cronies, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, I assume they're trolls. Like, literally. Okay, any of you who are over 50 are not going to have any clue what I'm talking about. Any of you over 40, you may or may not have a clue what I'm talking about. Okay, on the internet, you got trolls. Your classical troll is the person who comes into a forum discussion, lights a little fire, then backs off to watch it burn. Okay? Like, yeah, burn, baby, burn. Okay? But trolls today are a little more complicated than that. Trolls today, you know, the petty ones will actually, they're intelligent enough to know they're wrong and to know what your argument against them will be, and they preemptively use your argument and turn it around and pretend it actually is against you. So Mark Twain is credited with saying that it's easier to fool people than it is to convince them they're being fooled. It's really hard for me to convince you guys you're being fooled. That's their position. They're taking the position that defeats them, and they're using it to try to say it supports them. That's trolling. I can't believe that's the first sentence of the letters to the editor section. I mean, and the AG's letter doesn't say we don't get those powers right away. It just says the existing commissioners continue to operate in their new positions. Now, I don't know if the power of initiative and referendum and stuff also doesn't happen until 2021. I don't know. The letter does not say that. They imply it does, because they say core lies, but it doesn't say that. Again, they're inferring things that aren't there. But again, even if they're right, your leg's cut off. It's going to take me 10 minutes to save your life. Ah, fuck it. You can't fix it in 10 seconds. Just leave it cut off. You can't make this shit up. You literally can't make this shit up. Again, with the half-truths on the letter to the editor page. How is commission manager different from mayor-council government? Mayor-council, the mayor-council rules like a king for 4 years, or 6, and you can't do anything about it. Commission manager, you hire the guy who acts as the head of the commission manager. He doesn't make the decisions. The council makes the decisions. He vets the decisions and then executes them by the will of the people. Because we can force him to be fired, or we can force a yes or no vote on something he does. That's the whole point, okay? The ultimate control shifts from the mayor, which is why the mayor doesn't want this change, to the people, which is why you should want this change, okay? So they're trying to say the one thing that is good about this is the bad thing. They're literally saying the entire point, the stopping of corruption, the giving more power to you and me, the people, is bad. Peace is war. War is peace. Have you ever read 1984? It's called The Ministry of Truth. Please, go read that book. It's literally a future projection of where this country is going. He wrote that as a warning. He did not intend that to be a prediction. Then they talk about pay. How we're currently spending $31,000 a year to pay our mayor and council members. And then he says that, compare that with the estimated $125,000 salary required to pay a decent manager. Wait a minute. The average salary for a city manager is $69,000. Where the hell do you get $125,000? What do you think? We're going to go out and find the most expensive city manager we could find and say we want you? That's like trying to hire, what's that famous chef's name on TV. You know, it's like trying to go hire him to flip burgers at McDonald's. Are you fucking stupid? Anybody, do any of you fall for that bullshit? I mean, we have this thing today. Again, any of you over 50, no offense, this just might not be as familiar to you, okay? We have these things called smartphones and computers. Hello, computer. Some of you might get that reference. And we have this thing called Google. You see, I consider myself one of the smartest people on planet Earth. So long as I have access to an internet connection in Google.com, I know everything Google knows. All I gotta do is type in the search. Matter of fact, let's do that. Salary estimates for city manager, ZipRecruiter, $32,000 to $140,000. Salary.com, $53,000 to $97,000. So, you think a town of 4,000 people is going to hire the guy who wants $140,000? Or $125,000? Or even $80,000? Or even, I mean, how stupid do you have to be? We would hire the guy in the 30 to 50 range. Because that's what warrants for this kind of town. Literally, all I did was go to Google and type in average city manager salary. And it pops right up. I mean, this is not rocket science. It's Google.com. Average city manager salary. Okay? Suing the city for nepotism. And their first response is, no one is perfect, nor are the core people who claim perfection. I've never seen them claim perfection, and I really don't give a fuck if no one's perfect. This is not rocket science. Maybe you had no malintent in hiring a first cousin to be a certain position. I don't care. The rules say you're not supposed to do that, so fix it. I mean, it's not like this is complicated rules. All right, it's pretty simple. You don't hire family in government positions like this. That's called nepotism. It's not rocket science. It's not about perfect. It's a basic rule. I mean, so whether by ignorance or by malicious intent, it's a basic rule. Perfection's irrelevant. Okay? Yet that's what they try to do. They try to raise the bar so high to make the other party look silly. Again, they're trolling. I mean, this is you could make a movie on this. This is ridiculous. A comedy show. Myth. Everyone in Edgewood would be forced to hook up to the sewer. And get ready, it's coming soon. Fact. Not everyone in Edgewood is in the service area. Which is why you're expanding the service area, you fucking lying piece of shit. I mean, I'm not kidding. That's his reply. Because the sewer doesn't cover the whole city, Core is technically lying. Are you kidding me? You can't make this stuff up. I mean, it's right here. It's right here on their page. I mean, you can't make this up. That's their reply. Epcor. They're not contemplating acquisition. They threaten to take it by force. That's not a contemplation. That's a planned action. Then they talk about price increases and stuff like that with Epcor Arizona, but fail to mention that they have to get each of those price increases approved by the Corporations Commission. What they fail to mention is that if the city buys the water company, they don't need any approval to raise the rates to basically whatever they want. You don't see any mention of that. Why no more recent measures or goals to address the hardness issue? They did. They asked the people if they'd pay for it. The people said no. What else do you want? You guys said no. Again, when you say explore, because that is precisely what is occurring at this point, but you include the threat that we will use eminent domain to take it from you by force, is a contradiction of your claim of just exploring. The term hostile takeover has been used by Eye on Edgewood citizens for an open and responsible Edgewood EOE core when referring to contemplation of Epcor acquisition, and we would do well to clarify some terms and concepts. A hostile takeover is an attempt by a company or group of investors to take control of a publicly traded company against the wishes of its upper management. So, using eminent domain to take a private company by force is not considered a hostile takeover. I'd call that a government takeover at gunpoint. What do you call it? The goal of a corporate takeover, friendly or hostile, is increased profit and return to individual investors. Well, they're implying that we would get increased water quality and return on investment to citizens. What they don't realize, what you don't realize, is that that actually means increased taxes to the town of Edgewood and its investors, the town of Edgewood and the mayor and councils, not the people. Because you won't benefit, because they're not going to soften the water. Not without charging quite a bit more than what Epcor said it would cost. Either which way, you'd be paying for it. Just saying, okay? Again, stranger than fiction. This is actually on their page. I can't believe they're actually putting this out there, and people are eating it up. Then there's Mayor's accomplishments, where he lists a couple of minor things that are things government is supposed to do. So what's the relevance here? I don't get it. He sometimes does his job, but this is a whole page all by itself. I don't have a lot of knowledge regarding paving of roads. It's outside of my expertise, and oddly enough, this is one of the few pages on Truth About Edgewood that doesn't include anything against anything, but also doesn't include any kind of stupid propaganda. This actually looks like it has some legit data. You might want to read it. I do question the cost of $1 million per mile to lay road. My road is 0.7 miles, and I got a quote for about $150,000 to pave it. So maybe that was a bullshit quote. I don't know. But that was hot asphalt paving. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe roads have to be done differently. I don't know. But it can't be worse than a dirt road. I would question that and look into that. But I don't see any serious propaganda. There's no bullshit here. It's just data. And potentially useful. There's actually a PDF that seems like it has some actually decent data in it. That's one of the first things I've seen on Truth of Edgewood that's not just pure bullshit propaganda. Of course, the eminent domain page is empty. That's not an accident. I guess they can't figure out a way to spin that. Opting into the longer instead of shorter term to synchronize elections. And they say, well, if we have them in November, we'll have higher participation. So why not shorten them to last November? How does Edgewood pay the bills regarding taxes and whatnot? And he has a dig at the end there. Core doesn't talk about any of these important things because they don't have to. That's a government thing. That's what you're supposed to do. All right. Core's purpose is to address the corruption in Edgewood. That's their self-stated purpose. So saying that they don't address these other important issues is irrelevant. That's like saying Core's bad because they're not addressing COVID-19. It's not their job to address COVID-19, just like it's not their job to address how to pay these bills out of GERT and property taxes. That's not their job. That's not their point. So saying that is literally pointless. So there you go. I just went through the entire Truth of Edgewood page with the icon at the top that says fact, myth. And of course, fact is green and myth is red. And there's nothing here. You know, besides the last couple of pages, which have basic government information, but don't actually address any issues, although they tend to stick a couple of digs in there at the opposition, even though there's no dig to be had. They just do it anyway. It's a propaganda stream. The whole thing is literally bullshit or propaganda with a smattering of information of no relevance tossed in to make it look legitimate. I don't know. I mean, does Core have a page? Let me know. I'll do a video on Core too. I don't know if they have a page. Let me know. But I don't see any downside to commission manager form of government. I only see upsides. Truthaboutedgewood.blogspot.com contains zero information regarding any downsides of commission manager government. In fact, this website blatantly takes the positives, the upsides of commission manager government, distorts and twists them outside of the realm of reality, and presents them as negatives. We call that trolling. We call that propaganda or bullshit. I mean, this is coming from the mayor. This is clearly coming from the mayor, because the mayor and his selected council members are the only people who could possibly benefit by not having a commission manager government. Splitting the town into districts increases your power. It validates your vote. Your voice will actually be heard and count. Okay? Commission manager. No, you don't vote for him. You hire him. That's even better, because that means you can fire him. You can't fire the mayor. Although in the commission manager form of government, you can. Because in the commission manager form of government, you gain the power of recall. So if the person in office does something particularly egregious, you can have a recall election. And if you meet the criteria, you can boot them the hell out. Something you can't do now. You can hire a manager to properly run the town and fire him and hire someone else if he does it wrong. Again, a power you would gain that you do not have now. You would gain the ability to override the mayor and council, the manager and council, if they do something you don't like, and if you can get enough support from the community, you actually have the power to go, no, we don't like that, vote. And you can override him, a power you would gain that you don't have now. You would gain the power to compel the government to, within reason, do something it doesn't want to do that you don't have now. There's no downsides. It's all upsides. I mean, again, use the comments down below. I don't want to hear any bullshit. If I hear propagandistic bullshit off this Truth About Edgewood page, I'm just going to fucking delete the comment. Okay? I'm not in the mood for bullshit. But if you have a legitimate issue, some data that I'm missing somehow, where you can explain to me how there's any downside to the commission manager form of government, where I only see upsides, please enlighten me. You know, show me where I'm error in my ways. Okay? Use the comments down below.